Hi, Dave Smith with Officer.com. Now, today I want to talk to you about a very important one of those 10 deadly errors that we often talk about, and we've all seen listed on the walls of our departments. But one of them we don't think about a lot is sleepy or asleep on duty. And we think, well, I don't sleep on duty. You know what? In this day and age, with all of the economic issues, a lot of you are working part-time jobs on the side, and a lot of other things. You're working overtime because of agency issues, or just frankly, maybe you have familial duties that require you to do a lot of things off duty that don't let you get the sleep you need. And I want you to think about how important getting that sleep is. Well, there's a lot of research nowadays that says that being tired not only affects your motor skills, for instance, or how you feel, but also how you think, your critical thinking skills. So that's why it's important that if you're really fatigued, if you're really exhausted, maybe you need to go to your supervisor and say, I should be in a 2-officer unit today because I'm just exhausted. And this is the kind of thing. If you find yourself chronically exhausted, then see a physician, because obviously it could be something seriously wrong, but also maybe you're just not planning your life effectively. You've got to make sleep a priority. Now, another thing is when we look at accidental deaths, we find officers who are fatigued have a tendency to crash more often. That's something else to think about, because again, one of the goals of the entire list of deadly errors is to avoid them, and for a lot of reasons. And we got to take into account that accidental death is still over 50% of officer fatalities. So when you're operating that vehicle, you don't want to be fatigued. Even short, that 1 hour short of that 8 hour sleep that we consider so basic for our species, can cause us to have greater accident liability. So just statistically, that's what tells us this. Another thing to think about is that when you're fatigued, you're not attending to things. You're easily distracted. It's hard to focus. So take time. If you find yourself, in fact, exhausted or fatigued, then you've got to go out of your way. I know that sometimes you've got to do the work. You've got to go out there. Maybe you got to pull a shift back to back, and that happens a lot. And what I need you to do is, awareness is one of the ways that we can mitigate the liability. Think to yourself, I need to focus. Keep your fluid intake up. Keep your meals. Don't get hungry. Don't let that blood sugar bring you down as well, because then the fatigue gets enhanced. In other words, we're going to do those things that keep us alert. Caffeine, I know, has gotten a lot of bad rap over the decades, yet still a highly effective stimulant and increases your brain power. So don't hesitate. If you're not already addicted to caffeine, let me tell you what, it can give you the jitters to suddenly just slug down a cup of coffee if you're not already addicted to it. And those of you that are addicted to it know how effective it can be. So these are the things to think about. Being asleep on duty, of course, we all say, well, I would never want to fall asleep on duty. Yet how many times have you been working a graveyard shift, and as the sun crests over that hill, you suddenly just feel intense fatigue and exhaustion? Well, officers are killed every year where they fall asleep operating a vehicle. So let's pay attention to our fatigue levels. Let's stay alert when we're out there. If you got to take a stimulant such as coffee, or go get yourself a Diet Coke, or whatever it is that you find your legitimate forms of stimulation, then go and do that. But again, stay alert. Advise your supervisor if you're extremely fatigued and feel you're a liability, because you're not just a liability to yourself. You're a liability to the officers you're backing up and your community. All right, things to think about. I'm Dave Smith for Officer.com. We'll see you again.